Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gosh, I have a lot to say on this. I'm going to start with a couple things. I want to talk a little bit about the transparency of why this is on the floor right now. I sometimes think the first remarks that you make for the new session is a little bit like a teacher asking you how you spent your summer vacation and what that essay would be. And I know that myself and a number of members in this room spent it face-to-face talking to constituents. As a representative from the 66 mentioned, we talked about a lot of things. I will tell you that in my district, we talked about kitchen table issues. And for me, those kitchen table issues in our district were cost of groceries, cost of housing, cost of health care, public safety, childcare. Literally not one person mentioned to me, like, gosh, I hope you guys enshrine photo ID into the state constitution. Not one. So why are we here now? Well, I don't have to wonder. I can just state what the authors of the bill have said. We are here now because you're fearful of a rising majority, Mr. Speaker. You're fearful of what might happen when Democrats are in charge, and you are rushing as fast as you can to enshrine legislation that already exists, by the way, into the state constitution, making it even harder to change if that is the case in the future. So I personally do not think that legislating through constitutional amendment is responsible governing. I think that legislating by constitutional amendment is the hallmark of a terrified majority, to be perfectly honest, and I think that the voters see that. Our only urgency on this resolution is to make sure that we get it on the spring ballot. That was, again, very, very transparent, as was testified in committee. I'm sure most of you heard the same things that I heard this summer, which were, can you guys just please stop fighting and work together? There are many, many opportunities where we could be working together in this room today. And the gentleman from the 33rd making this little dramatic stunt about how many bills we may have filed. How many bills, Mr. Speaker, that we wrote last session to address these issues did you bring to the committee, much less to the floor? Not a lot. That's also true. So if you truly cared about those issues and you want to lift that up, then maybe talk to the public about why you are gatekeeping Democratic bills and solutions that I know some of your members also agree on with us. Instead of wasting time and taxpayer dollars, we are here discussing this. I'm going to address the popularity issue for a minute. You guys want to legislate on popularity? Bring it on. Let's talk about abortion rights. Let's talk about marijuana legalization. If that's truly what you care about, what's most popular, let's support the governor's proposal to bring referendums to the floor by the citizens of Wisconsin and not just the people in this room. There are a lot of arguments we can make about popularity that you are ignoring when it's not convenient to you and your base. I want to talk about the resolution itself, and I want to uplift some of the voices that came to committee because some of you didn't have that opportunity like I did to hear them testify. Permission to read from a printed document from time to time?
Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm going to first talk a little bit about what some of the Disability Rights Coalition have talked about that. And again, to the representative from the 33rd, I look forward to what your constituents say when you ignore the rights, the right to vote and participate in democracy by the barriers you set up of the people in your district who live with a disability. I look forward to seeing how popular that is. The issue of voting rights does impact Wisconsinites who are eligible to vote and have a disability. The CDC indicates 26% of adults have some type of disability, making up a significant portion of the Wisconsin voting population. Now, I mentioned this in committee. We come here with our own experiences, with our own backgrounds, from our own districts. We are able-bodied in this room. I wish that we still had a representative in this body who was not able-bodied because I miss his voice in this argument. But when we come here, we are not just bringing ourselves. We are bringing everybody in our district. That includes all incomes, that includes all abilities, that includes all backgrounds, that includes all levels of education, that includes colors of skin, all religions, etc. We do not have the luxury of just governing based on our own experience. And when the Disability Rights Coalition tells us that they have voters who will 100% be disenfranchised by barriers like this, we have to pay attention. And responsible legislating is to remove the barriers before we enshrine something into a state constitution, much less put it into state law. I don't know if you guys are aware, but we don't have public transportation systems in all districts. So when you talk about going to the DMV to get a free voter ID, not everybody has that ability, okay? Let's talk about then funding transportation. I look forward to you supporting that in the governor's budget, expanding public transportation funding so that everybody can get where they need to go, including to get a free state ID. Let's talk about accessibility. Not all DMVs are accessible to people living with a disability. Their website, in many cases, is not accessible to those with a visual impairment, and certainly not the facility itself. Those things can also be fixed. Barriers can be removed through the budget process in support of those departments. I look forward to your support of that. There are 11 DMV service centers that have limited access for people with disabilities. This includes service centers for 4 of our 100 most populous municipalities in Wisconsin. I'm going to read it out loud in case you live in that district, Mr. Speaker. Fort Atkinson, Platteville, New Richmond, and Sturgeon Bay. I hope that those representatives paid attention to that. As I mentioned, for those attempting to navigate information online, the DMV Online system is not fully accessible to screen readers, limiting access for people with print disabilities. I know that some of my colleagues are going to speak to some of the other barriers. It is proven that there are barriers to people in low-income communities and people in rural communities, and there is proof that people who live in Black and brown communities also find barriers. And I know that my colleagues will outline that. I won't do it all today. The bottom line here is that we are here doing work that is already law because you guys are in a panic, Mr. Speaker. We are wasting time. The governor today had a press conference about stopping gun violence. If you care about that, then let's get some of those bills here. We've got a lot of things to fix for the people of Wisconsin, and you guys passed the maps to get us here today in a better situation where our body is more representational and fair maps. So let's work together and do the work that the people have called us to do, because this here is not it, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.